At the time of making this video, Episode 7 hasn't come out. Fan excitement levels are growing exponentially, but the new Battlefront is shaping up to be an awful successor to an otherwise incredible franchise, and it isn't even going to be on PC! Battlefront was supposed to be the chosen one, to bring balance to Star Wars games, not leave them in darkness. Video games, and I think specifically PC games, have long been the beating heart of the Star Wars universe. From its very inception, LucasArts and its partners have been concentrating on telling great stories and making the best games, rather than trading on brand recognition. Regardless of there being Star Wars games, some of these games are considered to be the best examples in their genre. Perhaps it's for the best then that we reminisce over the past few decades of Star Wars games on the PC. The force is strong with these ones, but I've picked out my 5 of the best Star Wars PC games. One main advantage to choosing a list of Star Wars PC games is the fact that the PC has so many exclusive Star Wars games. Practically every great Star Wars game is a near PC exclusive. In the late 90s though, 2 previously exclusive N64 games, Shadows of the Empire and Rogue Squadron, were curiously ported to the PC. Now, it'll be a cold day on Mustafar before I say Shadows of the Empire is a good game, but Rogue Squadron 3D is awesome! Sporting practically identical gameplay to the N64 game, but with better graphics and none of that horrible slowdown that plagued the original. Hokey graphics and ancient gameplay are no match for a SideWinder joystick at your side, kid. Playing Rogue Squadron with a proper flight stick is fantastic. It feels the way it was meant to be played. Just don't get cocky. When it comes to first-person shooters, Star Wars doesn't have a lot to choose from. Dark Forces is consistently one of my favourites, but mostly because it tickles my nostalgia bone. But the best example of a modern FPS is Republic Commando. Essentially the best thing to come out of the prequel trilogy, Republic Commando is a tidy FPS with just enough features to help it stand out. You play as Clone Trooper Delta RC-1138, who commands the 4-man Delta Squad. Each trooper has their own specific abilities, which Delta can command through the straightforward orders system. A generous difficulty curve and a pretty decent story shunts Battlefront off the list and makes Republic Commando the definitive Star Wars shooter. If there's one genre that is absolutely overserved when it comes to Star Wars PC games, it's strategy games. Whether you like epic space battles or ground-based combat, if you're after asset micromanagement or real-time empire building, Star Wars has it in one PC game or another. My personal pick from this hefty list is Star Wars Supremacy. Known as Star Wars Rebellion to our friends in the colonies, Supremacy is pretty much the civilization of Star Wars games. Diplomacy, combat, asset management, lightsabers, it's all here. Yeah, you know, maybe it's not objectively as good as Empire at War, but I played loads of this game back in the day, and I even remember this is the first PC game I ever played that needed a massive 1 GB of free disk space. You can't make a list of best Star Wars PC games without mentioning Knights of the Old Republic. KOTOR is truly both a fantastic RPG and a great Star Wars game. Knights of the Old Republic takes that classic pen, paper and D20 template and transfers it cohesively to a video game. BioWare's MO is turning D&D into compelling video games, and they would continue this when creating their own space opera RPG, Mass Effect. Star Wars runs deep in Mass Effect, with that early work in KOTOR forming the larger part of Mass Effect's DNA. Telling a bold and ambitious story set thousands of years before A New Hope, KOTOR introduced elements of the expanded universe which are still held dear by a lot of Star Wars fans. On any given Sunday, you can fire up KOTOR and play the whole game through again, choosing different paths and discovering new story threads. In my last Star Wars video, I espoused TIE Fighter for its story and scope, but XWing Alliance is truly the definitive Star Wars space shooter. A PC exclusive, XWing Alliance was the last entry into the X-Wing TIE Fighter series, and the last great Star Wars space combat game. Ace Azamine is a freighter pilot for his family business, but moonlights as a rebel ace. Choosing between his family's well-being and the bigger picture of galactic peace forms a solid backbone to the story, and the ability to fly big, crude vessels like the Falcon, it takes the gameplay in exciting new directions. Featuring a full voiceover, excellent graphics, and realistic space physics, XWing Alliance took the XWing series to its logical conclusion. Fan-made graphics updates make the game look even better on modern PCs, and despite LucasArts unplugging the online multiplayer over 10 years ago, the online modes are still fully supported by Game Ranger, so gamers can still experience the thrill of blasting their enemies into oblivion. There would be no 5 of the best Star Wars PC games if for so long these Star Wars games weren't so consistently good. This is a dangerous time for us, when we will be tempted by the dark side of pre-ordering, but it's up to us as fans to demand more from our Star Wars games before parting with our money. The future holds great things for Star Wars games, but it's difficult to see. Always in motion is the future.
Perfect.